Hello everyone, I'm Jim Longworth and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you from the Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about them later on, and later on is when the roundtable shows up, and we will get into all sorts of controversial topics then, so stay tuned for that. Between now and then, some great guests and important information coming your way, so I want you to be with us for the entire half hour. Where we want to start is talking about paramedics, EMTs, the training of these very important people. And speaking of important people, two of them are with us right now. On my immediate right, he's been on the show before. We're always glad to have Alan Murdoch. He's Vice President of Economic and Workforce Development at Forsyth Tech. Alan's special guest is a first-time visitor to the show. Daren Ziglar is Director of Emergency Services for all of Forsyth County. Welcome, guys. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Daren, I'm going to start with you. Now, what kind of things, just to get us started, what kind of things fall under emergency services?
So emergency services in Forsyth County is comprised of our EMS division, our paramedics, our communications division, which is 911 for the county, and then the fire division, which is the fire marshal's office and the suppression efforts of the fire division. Okay,
now are there are most firemen volunteer? Are they paid by the county or the city, or how does that work?
So we have 17 combination departments out in the county, and those are contracted with the county to provide fire protection in the mostly unincorporated areas of the county.
I got you.
And then we have municipal departments. So this is separate from that.
Separate,
yes.
all right. Anyway, we didn't plan for that. I was just curious. I want to get back on track here with the paramedics and that. Now, what's your greatest need right now in emergency services?
Staff. We need paramedics, we need EMTs. The demand is as great as it's ever been. The pandemic has affected us in multiple ways, not only with staffing. People decided this wasn't the career for them. Just the sheer workload that we're seeing is driving some folks from it. And the only way we can improve that really is to increase our numbers, increase our staffing to get it to a manageable level.
Because the heroes that work for you are just, they get worn out.
They're tired.
These times.
They're very tired.
Alan, how can you and Forsyth Tech alleviate some of these problems and help meet the need?
Well, the good news is we provide a lot of the training to get these folks into those jobs, those very important jobs. This semester, what we've done is incentivize people. So right now we have a $500 sign-on bonus, if you want to call it, for those that are entering the paramedic field. We also are going to cover all their tuition, fees, books, uniforms.
Wow.
And once you graduate 2 years from now with your paramedic degree, we'll give you another $2,000.
Jeez, did that just start?
Yes.
That is fantastic.
It's a big need in our community.
The 500 bonus, the free tuition, everything, and then you said 2,000 after they graduate and get certified, right?
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's just unreal. Now, Daren, when I think of the paramedics that do these great jobs, I sort of look, the TV shows, you see them jumping in and out of ambulances and whatever. But there are, if somebody goes through the program that Alan's offering with all these great incentives, and it says paramedic on their title or something, they don't just necessarily jump in and out of ambulances.
No, most of them will start that way, and you get your basic education, you get experience. We have a clearance process, and then we have a career ladder. I mean, there's you begin working on an ambulance, you learn your craft, and once you've learned your craft, we move to QRVs. Then we have different opportunities, be it training division. We have a community paramedic mobile integrated health care division, and then our normal operations.
Do various things out in the community and other jobs that you can work toward, but start from that starting point of being able to get the training and education at Forsyth, and I know you're excited about it.
Absolutely. We need a steady pipeline. People that come into this career, some stay for many years, some go on to nursing, some go on to PA and medical school. So there's always has to be that influx, and one of the problems we've had that probably an unforeseen problem with COVID was it really shut down the education programs for a while.
Right.
And so we really felt that hard.
Well, thank goodness for what they're doing at Forsyth Tech and for all the work you and your heroes do to help us. I want to put something up on the screen. www.ems.forsythtech.edu will get you to a place where you can sign up for this training and take advantage of these incentives, ems.forsythtech.edu. And the general website, of course, is forsythtech.edu. To Alan, thanks for all you're doing to get
welcome.
This pipeline and recruitment going. Daren, thanks for all your service.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. On Triad Today, and I dare say all of us, all of you watching, know the term AFib. atrial fibrillation, either because you or someone or a loved one has experienced that, and or you've seen it on one of these medical dramas or whatever. But let's learn more about it with an expert, and he's right here with us. Nathan McGathy is a cardiac specialist with Northern Cardiology, part of the Northern Regional Hospital family of providers, and we welcome you to Triad Today.
Thanks for having me.
So let's just ask the basic. What is it?
So atrial fibrillation is an irregular, often fast heartbeat that comes from the top chambers of the heart. It affects the contractility.
Yeah, well, now what are the signs and symptoms? I know when something's rapid or whatever, there are people that say, I can feel this, I can feel that. But for a casual observer, a loved one, whatever, what are the signs and symptoms?
So the symptoms can be generalized fatigue, shortness of breath, chest pain. A lot of people feel palpitations or like the heart skipping beats or fluttering in their chest.
Now, what are the, if you just don't pay attention to it, you know you think you have it, but you don't do anything, what are the health risks? What are the complications if you don't do anything about it?
So the biggest complication with atrial fibrillation is stroke. So when the top chambers of the heart are not contracting all the way, the blood can pool in there and a clot can form. If that clot gets dislodged from the heart and goes up to the brain, it can cause a stroke.
All right, so we're not doing a commercial or anything here, but let me just say straight out, if somebody thinks they're in that category and they feel these things, they should try to get in touch with someone like you, right? Or do you go to the ER, or do you make an appointment with your general physician, or what happens?
If you're feeling extremely fatigued or like you're going to pass out, you probably need to go to the ER for evaluation. If you're not certain you're feeling those skipped beats in your heart, or if you've had a stroke before and they're not really sure why, you should contact a cardiologist or a cardiac provider, come in, get an electrocardiogram, and maybe a heart monitor so we can see if you do have AFib.
Okay, now what are the treatment options if I have this?
So the first thing that we talk about with atrial fib is anticoagulation or a blood thinner. That'll help prevent a stroke. About 1 out of every 7 strokes is a complication from atrial fibrillation. So after we talk about the stroke risk and blood thinners, then we talk about medications to help keep the heart in rhythm or procedures to get the heart back into rhythm.
Now, we didn't rehearse this or anything. I'm just curious. Let's say you go on medication. Is that a temporary thing? Is that a lifelong thing, or what happens?
So the fortunate thing with atrial fibrillation is that there's lots of treatment options that can be tailored to each patient's specific needs. So some of the medications are lifelong for certain people, and some are temporary. It just depends on each patient's specific need, which is why you should follow routinely with a cardiac specialist.
All right, I'm going to put some information up on screen. ChooseNorthern.org is the main website. Of course, Northern Cardiology, you can find Nathan there as well. But what I want to come back to in the remaining seconds is sort of catch you off guard here, because it's the first time you and I have met. We talked off camera about you going to Michigan, and I was kidding with you about that because you said your wife went to Appalachian State. But very quickly, what or who led you into the medical field?
So I had a lot of exposure to the healthcare field when I was younger, and then I went to nursing kind of as recommendations by my family. And after working as a nurse in the ICU for quite a while, I went back and became a nurse practitioner to help people out.
And in this specific specialty, anything in particular that drew you to cardiology?
I've always kind of had a fascination with how the heart works, and it's, an important organ that can cause lots of problems if it's not taken care of, and I want to help people feel good and live longer.
I think that's great. I just appreciate all you do, and I'll just mention one more time up on screen, ChooseNorthern.org. ChooseNorthern.org is the website for all those good folks, and not only find out about cardiology, but all sorts of things through that website. It's a great facility up there in Mount Airy. Well, will you come back sometime and visit with us?
I'd love to.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks for all the good information.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll be right back. Triad Today, time to talk about scholars. I happen to have 2 with me right now. Don't count me in that group. Next to me on the right, Jimmy Forsyth, our good friend, Director of Government and Community Relations for Duke Energy, and he brought a special guest with him who I haven't seen in a couple of years and has been on the show before, and so glad to see her again. Mona Lovett is President and CEO of Crosby Scholars. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to ignore Mona for just a second. She said she wouldn't, that was okay with her. Jimmy, let me go to you first. Tell us about, I've never asked you this before, tell us about the Duke Energy Foundation.
Sure, Jim. Yeah, the Duke Energy Foundation provides about $30 million a year in grants across our footprint, which includes a lot of the United States. But we kind of focus, one of the areas we focus on is K through 12 education, and a focus there around STEM, science, technology, engineering, math related activities.
Right.
And then also trying to focus on programs that serve an underserved or benefit an underserved population, minorities and females. And so Crosby is a great program.
The thing about, since obviously Mona's here, I'm going to talk with her in just a second. What's your connection? What's the foundation's connection with Crosby Scholar?
Yeah, we've been a supporter. Mona and I were just talking about that prior to the show, that Duke's been a supporter of Crosby Scholars probably close to 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah, getting pretty close to that. And recently they started this program that Mona's going to tell us about, the SHE program, and it's just really a great fit for those focus areas that I just kind of mentioned.
All right, Mona, bring us up to speed and remind us what Crosby Scholars is all about first.
Well, first, Crosby Scholars is a college access program. It's open to students in public school in Forsyth County. It's free of charge. And our goal is to make sure that every student who wants the opportunity to go to college, whether that's a 4-year, 2-year, or 1-year program, will have the opportunity to do so.
Now, Jimmy mentioned, I think in your email, and Jimmy just mentioned also the SHE program, S-H-E, SHE program. What is that?
SHE stands for Show, Help, Employ. And it's a program targeted towards African American and Hispanic girls to expose them to the STEM professions, science, technology.
High school girls or younger?
Middle school and high school. And so we really started with a cohort of girls that we're following through. So the oldest cohort now is in the 11th grade. And we're going to start additional cohorts in middle school, and really just to expose them to all the different STEM professions that are out there.
Now, how many, I'll put you on the spot, how many students are in this program so far?
Well, overall in Crosby, we have about 11,000 students, and in the SHE program, we have about 300 students who are targeted in this.
Now, this may be difficult to assess, I don't know, but give me some feedback, because you said that the oldest in the cohort is now a junior, having started in middle school or whatever. What feel do you get for how this is going?
We feel it's going very well. The young ladies have just talked to us about the many things they've been exposed to. With the help of Duke Energy, they've been out there to the solar plant, they've been to NC State, and to learn more about their engineering program, North Carolina A&T, to the agricultural area. So we've just exposed them to a lot of different opportunities, out to Vulcan Materials.
Yeah.
So really letting them know about the different opportunities that are available. And one of the things that ignited this program, just a simple conversation. I was talking with a young lady at a picnic, and it was a recruitment activity, and we had the fire trucks there, and she looked at me, and this was just a few years ago, and said, "Miss Lovett, can ladies be firefighters?"
How about that?
She said she'd never seen a female firefighter.
Wow.
And so we thought we better start exposing our young ladies in particular to more opportunities.
Jimmy, it's important to expose these kids to everything, just like those field trips, right?
Yeah, exactly. We just recently took a group to the solar farm out in Moxville, Duke Energy solar farm there. Great group of young ladies, very well behaved. They asked good questions. Afterwards, we took them and fed them lunch, and I had a couple of our engineering female supervisor come and talk with them, and one of our engineers has been with the company for about 40 years.
Good role models for them.
Exactly, yeah. They asked good questions, and just to show them, hey, it can be done.
I want to put something up on the screen, because Mona said, she wrote me an email, said, go to this crosbyscholars.org, because students can apply through going to this, crosbyscholars.org. And also a shout out to duke-energy.com as their main website. But as Jimmy likes to say, you can go to generatingprogress.com and learn more about from the consumer end. Mona, keep us posted on what's going on, will you?
Will do. Great.
Jimmy,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Always great. Thank you.
We'll be right back. On Triad Today, and time to have a discussion with Mr. Theater. And if you watch Triad Today regularly, and shame on you if you don't, you will know that Mr. Theater is Dave Briggs, director of the High Point Theater. Welcome, sir. Good to see you.
Thank you, Jim. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Let's start on something unpleasant. We've had a few weeks or couple months of talking about pleasant things. because we thought we were rounding the corner on COVID. Now the Delta strain comes, the mask mandates, things like that. So give me an update, because there for a while it looked like you just about be at capacity in the theater and all this stuff. Where are you now with social distancing, with masks, with capacity?
Sure.
Bring me up to speed.
Well, sure. We're still at 100% capacity, so that's a great thing. It looks like Guilford County commissioners are going to require an indoor mask mandate effective sometime the first week in September.
Okay.
They initially had done one that was for last Friday, and that one failed because they were having there was a rather punitive damages if you were caught without a mask indoors. So that's been adjusted. It is scary because we now have folks who they were ready to come back to see events. They want to come in without a mask. Wear the mask. You'll be indoors. You'll be with friends. That's how we're going to handle it. We've got plenty of cleaning stations. We have ticketless or touchless ticketing, touchless concessions.
Yeah, and some great acts we're going to talk
Great
about
acts. It's
coming
going to
up.
be very safe for them. Hand sanitization. I think we've done as much as we can
Right.
to protect them. It's up to the public to protect themselves.
Yeah, and I think, look, folks, I'm not going to do a medical preaching thing because I'm not a medical professional and I don't want to take Dave's time. But look, get vaccinated. And if for some reason you have some religious or health problem that you can't get vaccinated, then wear a mask, no matter where you are. And, you know, we could get through this thing if everybody would just sort of pitch in and do one or the other or both. All right, let's talk about some shows that are coming up because it's cool and comfortable in the theater. They'll have a good experience, mask up anyway. Andy Gross, August 21st.
That's tonight, if you're watching on Saturday. So we're really excited. Andy's just a hilarious. He's a comedian. He's a ventriloquist. He's a magician, and all three of those wrapped together is just phenomenal. He's going to be a lot of fun. And then the following Saturday,
Yeah,
we
I was just going to say, let me interrupt you. For folks that are watching on Sunday, I'm sorry that you missed Andy,
Yeah.
but there's plenty of good stuff coming up, and that cues Dave to talk about August 28th.
Oh gosh, on August 28th, we have our own local legend, Billy Craddock, who had, lots of number one hits. Of course, Rub It In was a big one for him, and
Right.
and Boom Boom, I can't remember the name of it.
Boom Boom Baby or
Boom
something
Boom
like
Baby.
that. Yeah.
And then also, he's got a brand new song called I Want to Paint Your Toes. He's 83 years old, folks. He's got great energy. You're going to love that show.
83 years old. We've had Billy Crash here on the show before. If you go through the archives on Triad Today, you can see some of those segments.
That's great
He's
clip.
just great. Now, on October 24th, I'm skipping around.
Sure.
Ernie HAASE.
Ernie HAASE and Signature Sound. Now, Ernie is they're a Southern gospel quartet, and these guys are absolutely amazing. We haven't done a lot of gospel music. I've actually known Ernie since he was about yay big, and his quartet, they're constantly number one performers. They do a lot of work with the Gaithers. They're phenomenal, and if you love Southern gospel music, you're not going to want to miss.
Now, are
Ernie
they
HAASE.
from around here originally, or?
They're from all over, but
Yeah.
Gastonia area and Lenore, they have roots
Right.
really in North
Ernie
Carolina.
HAASE, that's going to be good.
Great group of guys.
I love good gospel music. Now, on November 7th, you sent me a note saying that Philip Fortenberry was coming.
Philip Fortenberry is an amazing classical pianist. There's a biopic called The Hands of Liberace.
Right.
And the close-up shots of Liberace's hands are Philip Fortenberry's.
Wow.
So, this man can flat
He knows
play
what
the
he's doing.
piano. He can get around the 88 keys.
Up on screen, highpointtheater.com is the website, and the phone number for buying tickets, 887-3001. We hope you will check that out, 887-3001. And you're going to stay over for the roundtable?
I sure will.
All right, Dave, thanks.
You're welcome.
We'll be right back. Today, just about time for the roundtable, but a quick shout out to the good folks here at the Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. Hope you'll visit their website, which is on screen. Come out and visit them. You can do your weddings and receptions and meetings and luncheons, everything here. You can listen to these three guys too. They've got some great things they're going to say right now. On my immediate right, but always the political left, Ogie Overman, the great broadcaster and journalist, and sitting in for Keith Granperry, who is stuck in an airport somewhere, is a man who's stuck here. And that's Dave Plyler, chairman of Forsyth County Commissioners. We welcome Dave. And of course, Dave Briggs held over from the last segment with the High Point Theater. Guys, let's get to it. A growing number of companies are requiring their employees to be vaccinated, as you know, while some companies are saying, okay, we're not going to make you get vaccinated, but we're going to raise your insurance premiums if you don't. Which is a better option, Ogie?
Well, obviously, getting vaccinated is preferable, always. But if you don't, that's a pretty good carrot to dangle if we're going to.
Dave Plyler.
No question about it. When I was a little boy, I had to have a diphtheria shot, had to have a whooping cough shot, but I never got that. If you don't get it, there's a fairly good chance that you are going to get COVID, and if you do, you're going to wish. So, oh yeah.
Dave Briggs.
Yeah, I agree with both of these gentlemen. But the other question here is the insurance company actually charging that premium, or is the company pocketing the money? And
Good question.
where's the money go?
That's a good question. Meanwhile, colleges in West Virginia and Alabama, for example, are requiring unvaccinated students to pay a hefty fee, $500 in West Virginia, $750 in Alabama, to cover the cost of weekly COVID testing. Guys, are you okay with colleges charging unvaccinated students for weekly COVID testing?
Yes, I am. It's the same principle, Jim. I mean, get the shot or pay some kind of price. Get the shot.
Going to test them, Dave.
Shot doesn't hurt, but the price that they'd have to pay for it does hurt, so I have no problem with that.
I mean, even if it's some wealthy family doesn't care about it, but still, they ought to get vaccinated. Dave?
Well, who's paying for the testing? If the university's paying for the testing, then the students should be paying for that as well.
Right. The wearing of face masks continues to be a hot button issue, as we've mentioned. But some experts say if everyone would just wear a mask for 3 weeks, we would just about stamp this thing out. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe it is. But just in case, wouldn't you like to see President Biden order a temporary nationwide mask mandate? Ogie.
Well, people, really rebel against the word mandate. But in this life and death situation, here we are again for 3 weeks. Is that really too much to ask? Really?
Something we ought to try. Dave, what do you think? A 3-week mandate?
Well, we've already got that mandate. The county is looking at that. There's a good chance we will do that.
Winston-Salem, Alan Jones has already done it. Winston-Salem, Guilford.
Alan Jones called me this past week and said, what are you guys going to do? I said, at this point, we don't disagree with anything if it'll get rid of the problems that we've got and meet the needs that we have.
Right. Dave Briggs.
I have no problem with people wearing a mask. The mandate does bother me. And the other problem here is that unless you have a fitted N95 mask, particles in this virus will go through your cloth and paper mask no matter what.
Can still get through. But if you do that with social distancing, you got a better chance of
well,
doing
we
that.
were also supposed to be only having this for about 3 or 4 weeks, right?
Yeah, right. Changing the subject, 2 Georgia high school football coaches have been charged with second-degree murder in the 2019 death of a player who died after being made to practice in dangerous heat. Are you okay with murder charge for something like that, or is that too severe, Ogie?
Well, it is, Jim. I mean, you can't charge a coach with murder, but I mean, maybe a second-degree manslaughter might be appropriate.
Dave?
Well, when I was in junior high school, that's about as far as I got. But in the middle of July, we did have to practice. I thought I was going to be a football great after a little while, but the coaches mandated, and if you're going to do this, you've got to do what the coaches tell you to do because you need to learn.
There was no option. Dave Briggs?
Yeah, I was a high school and college soccer player, and we practiced in some very severe conditions. The question here is, potentially I think a manslaughter charge might be in order, but it's up to the school districts to provide the health care for those practices to make sure that these kids, if they're overheated, are looked after.
Right. A first-year school teacher in North Carolina earns about $35,000 per year. If they teach for 25 years, they might make $50,000. As a result, a growing number of teachers are now working a second job on the side. Guys, let's take a little bit of time with this. Are you okay with teachers working 2 jobs, or should we raise the salary of starting teachers, and if so, by how much? Ogie?
Yeah, we've been saying it forever, Jim. I mean, the most undervalued profession on earth, even more than journalists, are teachers. They are just way, way lower. I mean, start out at least 45 a year
Instead of 35.
and raise them up periodically.
Yeah. Dave, what do you think? I know you have to make decisions on budgets.
Oh, listen, I have 2 daughters. Both of them teach, one in the public school system, one in the private school system. The one in the private system is there because she couldn't make ends meet on the salary she was getting.
In the public system.
Yeah, and then you come up to what the commissioners did. We put before the voters a proposal to have a 1 cent penny, a penny, added to sales tax, which would give each teacher an average raise of $3,000 a year,
Right.
which is not much, but it's more than they got now.
Right.
Problem was, people, and it got political, began to say, well, you know, what are they telling us? What are they not telling us? There's all kinds of rumors that got started.
But they're going to get a little bit of a raise, right?
Yeah, but it failed. It failed first for that very reason, and just
Right.
barely passed the second time.
Right. Very quickly, Dave.
Yeah, a lot of teachers, pardon me, a lot of teachers do have to take second jobs. It is a shame. Let's get them paid where they need to be.
$35,000 a year to start.
Just
Should go
not
up to
enough.
Oh, put it up to 45.
45, like, okay.
Yeah.
All right, finally, guys, former Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani will now call and wish you a happy birthday for just $325. Guys, would you pay Rudy $325 to wish you happy birthday, Ogie?
I'd pay Rudy to do something,
No, I know.
most
you
of
would-
which I can't say on TV.
Yeah, to go away. Yeah, Dave, would
Short
you?
answer, no.
No.
Absolutely no.
Dave Briggs, would you pay $325?
No, not for Rudy, but maybe for James Earl Jones. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. Well, that's great. I appreciate it, guys. That's about all the time we have. Oh, except for this. Every year, there's this lady in St. Louis who receives the number of gifts that correspond to the number of years that she has lived. So, for example, last week, she turned 100 years old, and all her friends got together. That she likes hamburgers. They gave her 100 hamburgers. Said the lady, I don't mind the 100 hamburgers, but I don't know what I'm going to do with those Dalmatians next year. See, there's a,
That was
you know,
terrible.
101
That's awful.
Dalmatians. All right, for all of you guys, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.